You're listening into the Competitor Talk. This is your host, Kyle Dangler. This podcast is presented by Lad Creative Works. And today we have on guest Tyler Freeman, who is a shortstop in the Cleveland Indians organization and is currently ranked as their number 3 prospect throughout their whole organization. Tyler started off with the club back in 2017 after getting picked in the second round of the draft in the compensation round. Signed a bonus right out of high school and is now currently in single A advance. He finished off the year there in 2019. He's only 20 years old. He's got a big stick, great glove, great arm. We're going to get to talk to him, just talk about how he chose to go there rather than sticking with his commitment to college. And then just kind of talking about his process, being so highly touted with some of the elite prospects in baseball. He's currently ranked as the 97th best prospect in all of baseball. Just talking to him about his career so far and where he hopes to end up within the next few years, and hopefully just get an insight to what he's thinking and how he's going to prepare going into 2020 with all the eyes and kind of the whole organization going to be watching him and a few other prospects as he's one of their best prospects going into the year. So here we go.
Hello.
Hey Tyler, how are you? Welcome to the show.
How you guys doing?
Good, yeah. So we just wanted to start off with thank you for coming on the show, and if you're ready, we'll just get going.
Yeah, I'm all set.
Awesome. Yeah, so I just wanted to start off talking about kind of your process and your decision to go pro rather than going the college route, because we've had guys that come on the show and looking back, they can honestly say that it was either the right decision for them or kind of that they wish they went to college and had the college experience and then went pro afterwards. For you, it seemed to be working out pretty well thus far, getting to move up the ranks pretty quickly, obviously becoming one of the Indians' best prospects in all the organization. For you, what was it like for you to decide that? And looking back thus far, what made you so ready to take on this new challenge of going pro?
I'll tell you, it wasn't an easy decision by any means. It was one of the most stressful times of my entire life. But, I don't regret the decision one bit. The coaching staff at TCU did a tremendous job by allowing me to even have the opportunity to be called a horned frog per se for a little bit. But, I don't regret the decision. It was mostly family-based decision. It wasn't just me. I had to count all the other factors of, am I seriously going to get drafted higher than what I did before? Or, how much, and, it just, in the end, I just trusted my gut. I did a lot of praying and, didn't regret the decision one bit.
Yeah, so something that I'm curious about for you is because, a lot of guys, especially in the high school route, you were lucky enough to, get picked so early on in the second round. And you mentioned, how much, after 3 years of college, how much can you move up per se, in the draft where, guys in high school, get picked in the 25th round, even later, decide to go to college because they can see their value and stock, rise high from, say, going from a 25th round pick to, say, top 5 round pick. For you, already being in that pool at such a young age, was that something where, you kind of had a cutoff based on, your perception of, if I went after the 5th round, I was going to go to college? Was there ever a cutoff point for you, or was it just going to, you were just going to feel it out, see how the contract worked out and then talk to the family?
To be honest, it was whatever happened, and obviously I wasn't even expecting to get drafted where I was drafted. I was, the day of the draft, I was playing video games with my brother. The day one of the draft, I was playing video games with my brother, not knowing I was going to get drafted that day. I was expected to be a day 2 or even maybe a day 3 guy, but when I heard my name, everything kind of came to reality. Oh dang, I just got drafted in the second round. This is a real possibility what I might not pass up. But there wasn't really any point in the draft where I was like, hey, if I get drafted here, I'm going to go to college or vice versa. It was, in the end, it was just fit. It was, like I said before, how much possibly better. Don't get me wrong, college baseball, they develop very, very many talented guys, but
yeah.
The minor leagues do as well. Pro ball, they develop guys from bottom to top. So, I just, like I said, just kind of trust my gut.
Yeah, so, going from, making that leap, skipping the college route and, playing in California where obviously, getting picked so early on in the draft, for you per se, obviously, looking back, I'm sure for you, in your own opinion, you were on a different level per se than, the normal high school kid, that you were playing against, just because you were, more progressed and more advanced in your skills at such an early age. For you going, right to pro ball and having all these players come from all over the world, in a sense, getting picked up, in the international pool, and just, coming from all over the country, for you, I mean, was it difficult transition, to not only deal with the off the field stuff, but, being, an adult in a sense of, being on your own, and also having to deal with, playing with all these talented guys that, are coming from all over the world and have the same or, skill set as you?
Yeah, absolutely. As an 18-year-old, you're already put into the real world. I mean, you're an adult now after choosing to go pro out of high school. I mean, it's reality. It's like, hey, you're up for yourself now, and you gotta be an adult. And it was a tough transition. It sure was. Still calling my parents every day, asking them how to be an adult. Well, what do I do here? Like little things like that, and I eventually got used to it and kind of went full board with that. And then playing with other guys from all over other parts of the country, it's actually really cool. Like, it allows me to learn how to speak another language. I'm not fluent by any means, but I still pick up words here and there. And like, you were right. You were right when you said, like, the talent is there. Everyone is talented in the minor leagues. Everyone is. It's it's just a matter of who wants to work the hardest, who wants to put baseball as a priority. And it is a battle in the end, but you do make some of your best friends. So.
Yeah. So, speaking of, getting on the field, in college, not skipping, obviously, college and then going to pro ball, obviously your bat's been playing well throughout the minor leagues thus far, and so has your glove. I mean, for you, how much progression have you made, looking back over the, about 2.5 years since being drafted, for you per se, in terms of, your skill set? I mean, have you been working on any specific, adjustments with your hitting or just fielding? I mean, are you a guy who watches a lot of film with all the technology these days? I mean, what do you do to progress your skills from a personal level?
Yeah, the biggest thing I do, you're right, I watch a lot of video, not only of myself, like, I'll watch other big league videos, I'll break down their stuff, what they do right, that I don't do, or what I want to try to fix to get better. It's me, the coaching staff with the Indians. It's what they do over there is amazing. Like, they do their best, and they put their minor league players before anything to try to maximize their potential, whether it be the videos or the analytics side, what they see, what they can improve on for you as a player. And it's like, I'll send voice messages, or I'll call some of the coaches during my off season, and they don't mind talking baseball. Like, hey, maybe you should work on this, or maybe you should work on that per se. But they provide so many resources, and it's amazing what they do over there.
Yeah, it's interesting too. Because being in pro ball, having, the time off per se now, because, not having to go to class, or, just literally, focusing on baseball, all year round. For you, I mean, just going through that process now of, going into, your second full season of pro ball, now going into the second off season after playing a full year with the Indians organization. For you, I mean, how do you adjust to, being home and, training, whereas, per se, not having to go to class, or, not only having, baseball as a priority for you? I mean, does that help you put in the extra work as, per se, if you were in college and having to balance a few different other things?
Right, yeah, I think it does play a factor. I do. I've been actually my first off season. I really didn't have an off season. I tore my shoulder and I tore my labrum, and I was actually out in Arizona rehabbing the entire time. And so, like, this being my second pretty much off season, it's nice to be home. But in the end, I still do a lot of stuff. I still work out. I still, hit in the batting cage. I still do all that other stuff. But, having, like, class being not a priority, it does kind of lay some pressure off of you to just worry on focusing what you need to do to get better for the next season, instead of, hey, maybe I'm going to try to get this class to graduate this year. But not having school, it helps in a way. But in the end, I'm just working my tail end off.
Awesome.
Out here, so.
Yeah, so going, from that end of per se, having to play, only, looking back in high school, only playing, 30, 35 games at the max. And then, going in the pro ball, obviously, your first year rookie ball, playing about the same as you would in college and even, in high school with about 36 games. Moving on to 2018, doubling that. And then now this last year, playing over 120 games. For you, playing all those games, I mean, did you see the wear and tear on your body per se, or do you feel that you were prepared enough to, go through that task? I mean, was it a hard transition for you to be playing all these games as opposed to, playing travel ball in high school, but not nearly getting as many games and at bats in as you would in pro ball?
Right. I did feel like I was prepared. The previous offseason, I trained extremely hard, just like I am right now. So actually training very hard. But, once it was later in the season, it was like, whoa, like my body's never felt like this before. It's like everything gets sore. You got to do right things, whether going to the training room and doing some extra stuff, healing your body any way that you can. Once it was towards the end of the season, it was, you could see like sometimes your results, it was like, I'm doing everything I possibly can, but your body's just tired, and you gotta kind of realize that you gotta fight through it. And it was definitely a different feeling for sure. But like I said, going into this off season, train even harder to try to limit those feelings next year.
Awesome. Yeah, so, every organization, every player has their own different, routine in the off season, especially, having, whether prioritizing, certain things or focusing on certain, weightlifting training. For you, I mean, can you just take us through kind of a process of you? I mean, do you weightlift every day? I mean, do you hit every day? I mean, what's it like for you on a day-to-day basis as you prepare to go into next season?
Yeah, I usually wake up, I'll grab something to eat, and then I head to the gym out here. And I moved out to Texas, so I'm out in Texas, obviously. But I'll head to the gym out here, do my thing there. After that, I will head. There's a local college around here that it's called Southwestern University. The coaching staff there is allowing me to take ground balls, and they'll hit me ground balls and stuff there, and throw, get my baseball stuff in. So I'll do my work over there, and then if I didn't feel like I didn't get enough work over there, I have a batting cage in my backyard. So I'll hit off the tee or something there. And then if I weightlifted in the morning, I'll go maybe go back to the gym and do some agility stuff, running or doing some small little explosive stuff. And for the most part, that's pretty much it.
Now, with the college, going there, taking ground balls with the coaches, obviously. I mean, are you working in with, the college team there just to, get extra reps in? I mean, are they hitting just to you, or I mean, are you, getting, simulated kind of, feel with other players on the field to, make like it's almost a real life game?
No, yeah, it's a little bit of both. Sometimes they'll do some machine work, and they'll ask me, "Hey, do you want to jump in and stuff?" And I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely, that'll be great." So and like I said, that sometimes the coaching staff will let me ground balls, or sometimes they'll also invite me, like if they're doing like the live situation, to take ground balls then. So it's pretty much, I mean, what we get or what we do at the complex in Goodyear, Arizona for like spring training stuff. So I mean, it really imitates it.
Yeah. So, obviously, working on everything in the off season from weightlifting to, training on the field, obviously, for you, having to, I'm sure, progress in every facet to, make your game even better every year. But is there anything specific that, you're trying to hone in on, whether it be, mechanically at bat, being more consistent with ground balls? I mean, what's it for you that, you're really trying to, hone in on, just talking with the coaching staff, with the Indians, just to make sure that, this one facet of your game is improved, going into spring training that, maybe lacked, or maybe they could see better improvement on, going into next year?
Yeah, absolutely. The biggest thing that they were telling me is they wanted to see some weight gain. Not losing speed, but, just kind of putting some muscle on. And, as of now, I mean, I feel I'm pretty much the highest I've ever weighed. strong, and I took that to heart and wanted to work on that greatly, and that was one of the things. Another thing was keeping up with the ground ball stuff and arm strength for sure. And actually here soon, I'm going to be starting my long toss program to try to build some arm strength and to make my arm feel 100%. Hopefully, I know it's not going to happen, but have the arm feel 100% for the whole season. But I'm going to do my best to keep pounding on that stuff. And obviously, there's always stuff you can improve on the swing bat wise. But just kind of keeping my routine, keeping my everything kind of what I did before, and always trying to improve. So.
Yeah, so just kind of, one thing that I was definitely curious about to ask you, we just had, a few Dodgers prospects on, last week, that are, as highly ranked as you, and, having Nolan Jones, the number one prospect in the Indians organization coming on next week. But for you personally, being such highly ranked, I'm not sure if, you look at that kind of stuff, but obviously, having the buzz around your name just in the organization as being, one of the regarded best prospects in the Indians organization. For you, I mean, how much pressure does that put on for you, per se, personally, where, as if you weren't as highly ranked, under the radar, but is it something that you embrace going into the season, being noticed more, say, than other prospects, or is it something that, you don't even look at?
It isn't something I usually look at. Obviously, you're going to get the texts and the calls from your parents or your friends saying, "Hey, like you're the blank grade prospect," And I do my best to zone that stuff out because everyone in the organization, whether they be I don't know how the rankings go, but like the last ranked prospect or the first, we all work extremely hard and we don't really look at that stuff. And like you guys were saying, even if I was a lower rated prospect, I'd be working my tail end off still to try to help get to the big league and help win a World Series, because in the end, that's the biggest priority, is to help this team win in any way possible.
So going into 2020, just curious. Obviously, you have to go through the whole spring training process to get assigned to what team level you're going to be on. But for you, I mean, is there any idea from the coaching staff or anyone from the organization that's kind of told you where you're most likely to be next year? Whether it's going back to full A, going into next year, double A, just for you, even single A advance. I mean, what's it like for you going into the season, not knowing where you're going to be or knowing where you're going to be?
They haven't really spoke to me about anything for where I'm going to be at next year. But they could put me in high A again, or they could start me in double A. Whatever their plan is, I trust their plan. I'm not going to question it at all. But wherever I play next year, I will give it my all, and I wouldn't put a frown or be mad if they did send me back to high A. I'd be ready to help any team win in any way possible.
Yeah, and just looking on, after 2020 and beyond, obviously, the main goal, for every player is to make the major leagues. But for you, being a shortstop, primarily, also playing a little second base during your time in pro ball, obviously, I'm sure the buzz around Francisco Lindor in the organization, just as being one of the perennial shortstops in all of baseball. For you, just saying, if you ever got the opportunity to go to the major leagues, how willing are you to, go to second base, third base? I mean, is this something that you'd be comfortable with transitioning to, in order to make the major league roster one day?
Yeah, as I said before, if they wanted to put me at second, or if they even wanted me to catch, I wouldn't care. I wouldn't mind moving any position, whatever their plan is, whatever they envision for me. I just want to help the team win. I want to win a World Series ring with the Indians. So, whatever way possible it is, I'm up for it. So.
Awesome. Now, do you feel that there's a lot of buzz? Obviously, talking to other prospects and or different organizations, especially guys like the Dodgers, just a few other organizations, having that sense of, a championship mindset. Does that flow for the Indians organization, all the way through? I mean, can you feel the buzz that, there's a time to win and it's now, rather than, looking, 5 years, 6 years into the future, just like some teams are doing in regards of, looking to, make a playoff push?
Right. The biggest thing around our organization is to win. We want to win, and we want to bring the fans of Cleveland or wherever they're from, wherever the Indian fans are from. We want to win, and whether each and every year we strive to win. You see some teams rebuilding and stuff. And other teams have different mindsets on where they think they stand. But right now the Indians, we have a big mindset towards winning now, and we want to win a World Series as soon as possible for the fans. So.
Awesome. Just coming up to the end of, kind of the podcast interview, I just wanted to ask you, getting away from baseball, something that, you're so dedicated to, especially, being a professional at it now. But is there anything in particular that you do, outside of baseball, whether, just hearing other players, hunting, just kind of getting into music, just really anything? Is there something that you kind of lean on when, just baseball is, getting a little too much, and just to get away from the game once in a while?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I'm from California, and I just moved out to Texas, and I have family members out here. My aunt and uncle live out here, and a set of grandparents that live out here. They moved out here when I was, I want to say, in first or second grade. So seeing them now, it's awesome because I didn't get to see them that much, while I was growing up, and now I've been hunting with I've been shooting guns with my grandpa out here. We were planning on doing a fishing trip. I haven't fished in a while, so fishing with him would be pretty cool. I'd love to do the stuff like the outdoor stuff. I played some PlayStation with my cousins and my brother. So my brother's with the Texas Rangers. He's in the Rangers organization.
Okay.
We'll play Fortnite or something just to get our minds off of baseball. I also try to go to church every Sunday out here. I just try to go with my family members out here, and then just kind of I'm still a 20-year-old kid. I still love to do some stuff other than baseball, but in the end, just trying to have fun, still live my life.
Yeah, that's interesting, too, mentioning your brother in the Rangers organization. I mean, just how helpful has it been to, have a brother, going through kind of the same process, both being in pro ball? I mean, do you ever work out together, hit together, just, take some tips from each other? Or do you guys kind of just keep that more on more of a professional level, per se, when you're together, just more of being, family members and, just forgetting about the game?
Yeah, we do a little bit of both. He was just drafted this past year. We played high school baseball together. We were up the middle, actually. My senior year of high school. I was at short, and he was at second. We ended up winning our California the high school championship out there. And and when I got drafted, he was as the younger brother usually does, kind of looking up, like wanting to take the footsteps and stuff. And when it was closer to his time of being drafted, he was calling me left and right, asking me questions. What do I need to do now?
Yeah.
What's the next step? I would just do my best to try to talk to him, and and then the training part, we love to train together. I mean, growing up, we would do everything baseball together, whether we would be fighting or not. But we would in the end, we'd always hit in the batting cage, take ground balls together. He's going to be coming out here soon to work out with me. We're going to start taking ground balls together here, start hitting in the cage, and getting back to our grind together. So it'll be fun for sure, and it's even better because he's my brother, and we're just trying to maximize each other's potential, so that one day we could either play with each other or against each other in the big leagues.
No, yeah, that's definitely a unique story, just because, we've had, siblings, in the organizations, different organizations come on the show as well, too. So it's interesting, having that bond where, being able to play baseball together, it's especially unique for you guys, both going to the same high school and, both getting drafted together. I mean, that's something that looking back, even after baseball, I'm sure for you will be something special just getting a chance to go through that with him.
Yeah, absolutely. And even if we decide to have kids when we're older, just be a story to tell our kids, and hopefully, they can follow our footsteps one day. So
awesome. Yeah. So just last question before we let you go. Thanks for the time. I just wanted to ask you, personally, obviously, the locker room is something, sacred, especially in baseball. But is there anything specific, favorite moment, just in the locker room with the guys in pro ball so far that kind of stands out? Either a prank or a joke that that you look back on and still laugh to today?
Yeah, it's actually, I will tell you a story. When I was first drafted, at that point, there were thoughts going through my head, did I make the right decision? Should I have gone to college, So I think it was my first week of pro ball, and obviously those thoughts were running through my head, but then as I got into the locker room for the first time, I was one of the only guys to speak English. And
okay.
I was honestly, I was so scared. I was like, calling my dad. I'm like, Dad, I didn't make the right decision. I'm the only guy that speaks English. I don't even know what they're saying. Are they talking bad about me? But I was, and then once a week got by, 2 weeks got by, I was so comfortable. It was like they were my brothers, even though they barely understood me. If that makes sense. But and actually one of my buddies that was by my side the whole time was named Jose Fermin. He's also in the Indians organization. I played at Lake County with him this past year. He's one of my best friends that I've met throughout a pro ball, and he's taken me under his wing, and I try to do the same with him, and he's been one of my best friends throughout this whole process. So
awesome, yeah, that's definitely a culture shock for you, because I'm sure that wasn't something you expected. Having to deal with going to pro ball and then having to deal with kind of being out of their culture sense and having only baseball language to talk to at first. I'm sure that for you that was something that was definitely a transition.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so thanks for coming on. Obviously, you're busy, with getting into training, even though the season just ended a few weeks ago. So we just wanted to thank you for coming on. Obviously, we wish you the best of luck going into 2020, something that, we'll definitely be looking out to see how you do, and, just best of luck to you and your brother.
Thank you very much. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Tyler.
All righty.
Have a good day.
You guys too. Bye-bye.
Bye. Yeah, so that was Tyler Freeman of the Cleveland Indians organization. Their number 1 rated shortstop in their organization, and then something number 3 prospect in the whole organization as a whole, not including, the specific position that he plays. 6 foot, 170, as he mentioned, trying to put on more pounds of muscle just to, enhance his power and enhance kind of his durability with, just dealing with the muscles and fatigue. So, we wish Tyler the best of luck, getting into training and then going into next year. And even beyond that, something that, being such highly rated at only 20 years old, it's definitely something that is not easy for most 20-year-olds to do. So it's definitely interesting to see how well he's handled it and how well he's dealt with the pressure thus far. So, thanks for Tyler for coming on. We can't wait to see what he does next year. And thanks for listening to us.